Hello, this is Richard van Roost and welcome to another Blender tutorial by cgcookie.com. Today I'm going to show you how to create and use a ragdoll, as you can see here. This is the end result of the tutorial, and this little guy right here is my ragdoll. I'm going to show you how to create this, and a ragdoll is kind of a rig, but instead of animating your rig, you can simulate it. So this is very useful for things like car accidents like this. I have a very beautiful car right here, and it's running into my ragdoll, and you can see this is completely simulated, and I didn't do any animation myself. So once you have this ragdoll, it's very useful for scenes like this, where you have a car and it needs to run into your character, either for visual effects or animation. If you're doing visual effects and your actor needs to get hit by a car, you can create a 3D version of your actor and rig it, and then create a ragdoll to do all kinds of cool stuff with it. And in animation, what I'm going to show you in this tutorial, you can just use your character you're using and switch between animation and ragdoll simulation. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do this with the Sintel model. So here you can see my ragdoll is being hit by a car, and then after we did this, we can simulate or we can constrain our rig to this ragdoll, and then it looks like this. And you can turn it on and off with this custom ragdoll property we're going to create. I'm going to also cover how to do this. So right now you can animate your character, and then when you dial this in, it will be simulated, or it will follow the ragdoll. And then you just apply this to your Sintel model. Excuse me for this. Alright. So there we have Sintel. She gets hit and flies all over the place without having to do any animation. Alright. This is a light version of Sintel with a more simple rig and usable for cycles, and it's made by Andrew Price, and it's available on BlendSwap. It's this one. I will put a link in the description. So this is the model I used for this example, and we're gonna use the forward kinematics rig and parent it to the ragdoll, and then you can do all kinds of cool stuff with any character you have. Okay, so this is the Sintel model with an armature, and I only displayed the forward kinematics bones, so only these bone layers over here. When you want to parent bones or constrain bones to a ragdoll, I recommend you use the forward kinematics bones, because yeah, there's no need for inverse kinematics. In order to do this from the start, from the original file, the arms are already forward kinematics, but the legs are not by default. So in order to do that, you should select these two layers and select the feet, and make sure you select the foot inverse kinematics, and then you can scroll down over here, and in the properties you have an IK, or inverse kinematics value, and I've set them to 0. If you set them to 1, you can see the leg is following this inverse kinematics chain, and if you turn it back to 0, it's just forward kinematics. So we cannot move this foot, we have to move the leg from here. Okay, enough about the rig. Let's start creating the ragdoll. And for simple simulations like car accidents or whatever, you can get away with a really simple ragdoll. So what I'm going to create is only a lower part of the leg, upper part of the leg, no foot, one part of the torso, an upper arm, lower arm, and one head. No neck, no hands, no feet. And the objects I'm going to use are ridiculously simple objects. So let's start by adding a UV sphere, and I'm gonna make it a wireframe so we can see this in wireframe and we can still see Sintel textured. Let's scale it down. I'm gonna start with the leg, the lower right leg. Okay, so now it's a sphere. Let's make it a more long shape. So let's select the top half and make sure everything's selected, and press Y, and this will separate your selection from the other part of the mesh. Okay, and now we can select these two edge loops and make a bridge between them. So then we have this shape. And now select this part, scale it down. Whoops. Scale it down. Scale it down. And that's it. That's the shape of the leg. Let's make sure it's about the right spot in the side view. And right now you cannot see the shape, so let's turn on X-ray. There we go. And that's about it. Maybe I'm gonna move this knee part a little bit higher. Okay. So the lower part, let's duplicate this for the other half or the other side of the leg, and make sure it is about the right spot. Okay. Maybe rotate it a little bit. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on this part. Let's duplicate the leg and move it up. Go to edge, or sorry, go to edit mode and scale appropriately. Let's rotate in object mode so the entire thing rotates. Okay. Alright, cool. Let's duplicate this upper leg and move it around here. And as you can see, I'm creating really simple proxy-like shapes around this around the body, and later on in the process I'm going to make these rigid bodies and link them together with constraints. And as you can see, the two parts of the leg are intersecting, but that's not a problem because when we add a constraint between those two objects, we can turn off collision so they don't collide. They only collide with other objects. Okay, so these are the legs. Let's make this a little bit more manageable by moving them to a different layer. I'm horrible at selecting. Let's move them to layer 1 and turn on layer 1. Okay. So now whenever I want, I can turn off the mesh or turn off the armature. Okay, let's quickly move on. I'm gonna just add a new UV sphere, make it X-ray and wire again. Scale it down, and this is going to be the body. So yeah, let's do the same thing. Select the upper half, press Y, and then make a bridge between the two loops. W and bridge edge loops. Okay, and I'll scale it down. Maybe move this part up. Scale in the X direction. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, let's let's make different objects for the arms. So I'm gonna not scale it all the way to the shoulders, but just keep it around here, and maybe scale this down in the X direction. Create 2 more edge loops, scale them down a little bit. Let's look at this from the side. Scale it down in the Y direction and just move it actually, let's move this part, scale it in the Y direction only so we don't mess up the front view. Okay. Okay, I think that's good enough. Let's move on to the arms. And I'm gonna just duplicate this leg part. Oh, there we go. Shift D and use orthographic view. It works a lot better than perspective view to match this up. And let's quickly edit this. Check the side view. Right now I'm looking at the right view, and I want to look at this part. So with numpad 3 you go to right view. With control numpad 3, however, you go to left view, which is very useful because this pose is not symmetrical. So the right arm may be different from the left arm. And yeah, this is good enough. Okay. Sometimes when you select a bone in your armature, you cannot select any object. So I'm going to just turn off this armature, and now I can select my arm. Let's duplicate this and move it over along the X axis, and let's scale it down in the X direction -1. That didn't work as expected. Maybe in edit mode, SX -1. Yeah, there we go. And we can quickly match this. Alright, good enough. Let's do the lower arm. Shift D to duplicate. And scale this down. Like I said, I'm not going to do the hands, so yeah, let's just stop the arm over here. And intersecting is not a problem. Okay, good enough. We can always edit these objects later in the process. Even when we are already simulating, we can always come back and add more detail or whatever. So for now this is good enough. Let's duplicate this and move it over. SX -1, and that gives us the approximate shape. Yeah, let's look at this view. Okay, and you may notice the origins of the objects are really at random locations. I'm going to fix this later because this is going to be a problem if we leave it like this. So yeah, just ignore it for now, and I'm going to fix this later. Okay, let's see what happened to my body. Let's move the body to layer 1 because right now it's on layer 3. Keep things organized. There we go. Okay, final part of the body is the head. So I'm gonna add a new UV sphere, use wire and X-ray. Let's get it down and move it to approximately match this head. Okay, and I think this is good enough. Alright, cool. I added this to layer 2, so let's move it to layer 1. And now if I look at layer 1, we only have these proxy shapes, which are going to be our ragdoll. So the next thing I want to do is naming. This is very important. Using correct names. Now, right now we have sphere. They're all named sphere, and this is not very useful when we're creating constraints and stuff. So I'm going to quickly name these. I'm going to start with RD for ragdoll, then leg, lower dot R for right, and I'm going to do this for every single object. Okay, I added proper names to every object. Let's fix the origins right now, because they are on random locations. So let's select all the objects and go to origin to geometry. And this will move all the origins without moving the object itself. And now, for simulating, it's better to have objects with a scale of 1. So again, I'm going to select all the objects and Control A to apply the scale. And right now you can see every object has a scale of 1. Okay. And finally, I'm going to add them to a group with Control G and F6. I'm going to call this ragdoll. Okay. So now I'm going to add a lot of empties and parent these to the ragdoll body parts. So let me quickly show you what the problem is if we don't use empties. Let's select the layer with the armature. And for example, take the upper leg. Because we need this origin to be in the center of the object, because this is going to be a rigid body and the center of the gravity is the same as the origin. So we cannot freely move this origin to another place without moving the geometry itself. Therefore we need an empty to do this. Because when we take this bone and create a constraint, copy transform, and then we choose the ragdoll leg up right, you can see we have a problem with this origin, and we could fix the rotation, but we cannot fix the location because it starts at the origin of this bone. So in order to fix this, I'm gonna parent an empty to this shape and then have this constraint have the empty as a target instead of the shape itself. So let's quickly remove this to fix our armature. And if you don't know what I mean by all this, I'm just gonna do it and you will see what happens. So let's add a new empty, and currently I'm in pose mode, so let's quickly go to object mode, and now I can add a new empty. Let's see, plane axes. Let's make the size a little bit smaller, 0.1. And now let's start with this part. So I'm gonna copy the name of this leg and paste it in here and do underscore constraint, or target. That's better. So this is going to be the target of the constraint. And in order to fix everything, I'm going to copy the location of this bone. Let's go to pose mode. This bone. So to copy the complete transformation of another object, I always do parent, create a quick parent relation. So Control P, parent to this bone. Nothing happens. But now if we do Alt P and clear parent inverse, it moves to the exact location and rotation of this bone, except for it moves to the tail of the bone instead of the head, or the other way around, I'm not sure. So if you take a look at this bone and you want to know what location it has, you can do Shift S and do cursor to selected, and now the cursor moves to this selected bone, and you can see my empty is located down here, while the location of the bone is actually up here. So to fix this, I can simply press Shift S again and do choose selection to cursor, and now we have the proper location and rotation of this bone. So now with this parent relation, I'm going to Alt P, clear the parent and keep the transformation. So now I exactly have this proper location without a parent relation, and now I can parent this to my ragdoll shape. Okay, so now when I move this shape, the empty moves with it, and it has the proper location. If you don't quite get this, I'm gonna do it again for all the other shapes. So I hope by the end you know what this is all about. So yeah, let's move on. I'm gonna just duplicate this empty. Okay, Alt P to clear the parents, and Alt G and Alt R to clear the rotation and location. Okay, let's name this leg low left target. Make it apparent to the leg low left bone. Select the empty, Alt P, clear parent inverse. Okay, select the bone, Shift S, cursor to selected, select the empty again, Shift S, selection to cursor, and there we go. Now Alt P, clear parent and keep transformation, and now I'm parented to my ragdoll shape. Okay, so we have the lower legs. Now we can do the upper legs, and instead of duplicating this empty, I'm gonna just add a new one. It's Shift C to move my 3D cursor to the origin, add a new empty plane axis, and set the size to 0.1, and select my upper leg bone, Control P, bone, select my empty, Alt P, clear parent inverse, select my bone, Shift S, selection to cursor, cursor to selected, select the empty, and make sure we have the right empty. Okay, Shift S, selection to cursor, there we go. Alt P to clear the parent but keep the transformation, and then parent it to my upper leg. Okay, now let's take the name of this, Control C, and paste it in here, underscore target. Okay, I'm gonna do this one more time, and then for the rest I'm gonna just skip through this. So add a new empty with plane axes, set the size to 0.1. I'm going to do my upper leg left. So I'm going to select this bone, Control P, bone, select my empty, Alt P, and clear parent inverse. Select my bone and place the cursor to the selected bone. Select my empty and Shift S, move it to the cursor position. There we are. And now Alt P to clear the parent and keep the transformation, and then parent it to this upper leg, Control P, object. Okay, and then take this object, take the name and paste it in to the empty's name and underscore target. Okay, great. Let's save, and I'm gonna be back when I did all the empties. One last thing, maybe I should show you how I do the body. I'm only gonna use this bone, which is the complete movement of the body. I'm not gonna use this one. So with a new empty, I'm going to select this bone for the torso, Control P, set parent to bone, select the empty, Alt P, clear parent inverse, and it moves to a very weird location. So select this bone, Shift S and cursor to selected, and there we go. Now move this empty to the cursor. Alright, now Alt P, clear parent and keep transformation, and parent this to the body or the torso object. Okay, now do the naming properly, underscore targets. Okay, and for the head I'm gonna just only use this bone. Let's see. Yeah, that's the correct bone for the head. So let's add a new empty. Oh, currently I'm in. Let's add a new empty, make it smaller. This is going to be pretty repetitive, but I'm going to just do the head, and then the arms, you probably know how to do them. Okay. Scale it down. Parent it to the head bone and clear inverse. There we go, and it looks like it already has the correct location, but to be sure I'm gonna just move the cursor to the selected bone. Oh, there we go. Now move this empty to the cursor, clear the parent and keep the transformation, and then parent it to this head bone, and make sure the name is correct for this empty. There we go. Okay, so by now you probably know how to do this, so I'm gonna speed up the final 4 empties for the arms. Okay, all my targets are done, all my empties are created and moved to the correct locations and set as childs of the ragdoll shapes. So let's select them all and move them to layer 1. Oops. move to layer 1. Alright, select these guys. So we created the basic shape of the ragdoll, and we created targets for the constraints of the bones we need to use later on. In the next part, I'm going to show you how to connect the parts of the ragdoll with constraints, as well as how to do a simple simulation.